Hi there, this is Anup. Today we are going to talk about Intune assignment filters. Intune assignment filters for app protection policies, MAM related apps, Android iOS devices. This is a recording of a session which I presented in HTMD user group event which was happened in the last week. So don't skip the video. Let's go ahead and check this out. We are going to talk about Intune device filters for iOS and Android devices, and specifically on MAM topic. Microsoft recently introduced assignment filter support for MAM applications. So this is what we are going to see. We will first see very basics of filters, and then we will go into some more details, and then we will be concentrating on Android and iOS device filters. Let's go to the next slide. Just a clarification. I have done a video about this. If you have not watched that video, I would recommend to go ahead and watch that video. Probably it is available in somewhere in our groups, right? WhatsApp groups and Telegram groups. What does filters, assignment filters, what is the difference between Azure AD groups and filters? So we need to understand that Intune assignment filters are sitting on top of Azure AD groups. You need to have an Azure AD group anyways to deploy an application. And then if you are, for example, if you are deploying a policy to all the devices or all the users, then probably you don't want all these policies to get into all the users' devices. So you need to use assignment filters. And there are managed device filters, managed application filters. I'm not going to cover managed application filters. It is very, very early stage. I think I did a video about that also. If you missed that, probably you can check that out. Over here, we will be concentrating on device filters and how to filter some of the devices. For example, if a user is assigned with a physical device and a virtual device, for example, Azure Virtual Desktop or Windows 365 Cloud PC and a physical device, if you don't want all the policies which are applicable for physical device going to virtual device, maybe BitLocker. BitLocker is one perfect example. You have deployed BitLocker policy to all the devices. Then you don't want BitLocker policy to encrypt VDI hard disks. That is not needed basically. We can use assignment filters, device filters for that to find out which are the VDI or virtual devices and exclude virtual devices. This is the diagram which Microsoft produced, and you can see over here there are different things over here. First thing is admins needs to create a filter rule, assignment filter rule, and then admins needs to assign a filter rule into your application or MAM applications or policies, etc., etc. Right? For all the supported workloads in the assignment page, you will get a filter option. Normally by default it will be none. If you click on that, there will be a blade opening on the right side and you would be able to include, exclude, etc., etc. So that is the second step. And the third one is basically the main thing, the brain of assignment filter, right? This is a Microsoft service that we don't have any visibility to that. This is the Microsoft diagram that Microsoft provided. There are three different things over here. There are two filter modes, include and exclude. These are two filter modes. And then there are filter results and overall results. Include, if it is matching, the policy or application will apply to that particular device, will get deployed to that particular device. If the mode is exclude and if it is matching, then the policy will get excluded from that device and even application will excluded from that device. So I have a very detailed video about this also. So I'm not going to go through the entire architecture or design of this, how this filter engine works, etc. So let's skip to the next slide. This is where you can create filter rules. You can create a lot of filter rules, and there's a UI available, as you can see over here. You don't need to write some queries like this. This is very difficult. Rather, you can use this create filter UI to create complex assignment filter or device filter rules, etc. So let's go to the next slide. So this is talking about a very specific operator in the assignment filter rule creation UI, operator in. So when you use in, you need to use this particular format. So you need to use the codes and then comma, then this. Let's go to the next slide. So this is specific to enrollment restrictions and filters. Normally, my assumption was filters will work only after the MDM enrollment, or when the device is joined to Intune management, then only the filter can work. But product manager from Microsoft, Scott, corrected me, saying that there are some different scenarios like enrollment restrictions where we need to assess the device properties which are visible before enrollment of the device into Intune. So it is not only after MDM enrollment, it is just before MDM enrollment also. But the difference is the properties which Intune filter engine can assess before MDM enrollment is very limited device properties, and after MDM enrollment, the device will be sending lot of signals, lot of information to Intune service, and filter engine can assess those properties and take a decision. So this is also explained in the different various videos. So this is the main topic. I'm going to get into the demo after one more slide. So this is the second last slide. This is main topic. Probably we might have seen lot of new assignment filter rules about Windows, etc. But today I'm going to concentrate on iOS and Android devices, how to filter out some of the Android devices, some of the iOS devices based on specific characteristics of those devices or the properties available. For example, these are the properties available for iOS devices. You can create a filter based on device name, manufacturer, model, device category, OS version, is rooted, kind of stuff like that. And for Android devices, there are different types of Android device management options. It is a bit complex for me as well. So Android device administrators are there, Android enterprise is there, and then Android AOSP is there. So for different kinds of Android enrollment, there will be different kinds of device properties which are supported. So the filter option over here might change if you select Android Enterprise. Android Enterprise is probably going to give lot more properties, and you can filter, you can create rules based on that. We'll see that in the demo. So that is the main difference between Windows and iOS and Android, and same applicable for Mac OS as well. Let's go to the next slide. So this is a slide where you can see a quick overview, and this is again a clarification. Mac OS also supports enrollment profile name property. So this is a very high level overview of the properties supported by each device platform. So you can see there are some differences between Android Enterprise and Android Device Admin on this particular scenario. Enrollment profile name is supported only for Android Enterprise, not for Android Device Admin scenario. Device trust type, it is only supported for Windows devices, not other devices, because it is talking about Azure AD join and domain join. We don't have anything called Azure AD join or domain join for iOS and Android device, obviously. So that is why it is not there. Now let's go into demo. This is the demo time. Okay, let's talk about filter rules. So this is a new experience of device blade or device page. Basically, if you are not familiar with this type of screen or page, this is because I'm using the device preview that is enabled using this. If you scroll down in this page, you can one option over here to create device filters. So filters you can see over here, that is where you can create the filters. In the diagram you see there's a first step, that is creating the filters, assignment filter rules. That is what we are going to do over here. But before that, you have similar filter options, tenant administration as well, but I'm not going to cover that. I will directly go into filters and just create filter over here. In the filters, if I click on plus create button, you see two options. I talked about managed apps also in the slides, but I'm not going to cover that. I'm going to concentrate on managed devices in this particular scenario. Click on manage devices and give it a name. Let's say maybe you can specifically mention iOS devices, OS version 16 plus or something like that, or model number, depending on your requirement. So make sure filter name is there. The appropriate filter name with clear filter name will always help your team to understand what is this, and clear description also will help. I have seen people put links also over here, the documentation links or HTMD blog post links also in the description, so that it would be easy for admins to understand if they have some questions. And then the third one is platform. You need to select the platform, and from the drop down you would be able to select platform. So these are the supported platforms at the moment. You can see iOS, and then Windows, Android device administrator, Android enterprise, and then AOSP. That is also Android, and then Mac OS is also there. So these are the supported platforms for assignment filters. I'm going to select iOS because I'm going to filter out some of the iOS devices based on iOS OS version or model number. We'll see that in the next screen. Okay, so in this screen you can see something called rule. So we are in the rules page. Over here there are two options. One is rule syntax. You can type in the syntax over here if you are expert, but I always use this particular option. That is pretty easy UI option, which I explained in the presentation. So in this option you would be able to see supported device properties over here for iOS devices. Probably you can filter based on the device name. I can say maybe I need a device name only with HTMD, equal to HTMD, or at least start with HTMD. So something like that you can add over here, filter. And then I can add other filters also. There are and or options over here. You can either select and or depending on the criteria you want to create this particular rule. So I'm going to select and over here. So it will first check whether the device name, iOS device name, starts with HTMD or not. And the next rule will be OS version. OS version equal to 16. So OS version equal to 16. Whether the OS version is equal to 16 or not. If it is 16, then the filter rule will apply to that device. If it is 15 or something, then it won't apply. And first of all, it should have a name starting with HTMD, and then OS version should be 16. Okay, so these are the two rules I have created over here. And then you can see automatically it is displaying the actual syntax of the rule. It is a bit more complex over here if you look at. So I normally use this, and I recommend to use this. In certain scenarios you need to use this in a very complex scenario, and there are some Microsoft documentation about those also. I will refer to that also over here. If you go to Microsoft documentation over here, you can see a lot of details and examples over there, and even we have blog posts about this, so refer to HTMD blog posts as well. This is very, very important. Preview. Whenever you create filter rules for any platform, you need to check the preview to understand it, how this is going to work, and what is it, what are the properties visible, etc. So let's click on preview. So and see, you can see there's no devices matching this criteria, so nothing is there. So let's try to remove one of the criteria. Just clicked on remove button, and that got removed, and this particular rule also got updated now it is only OS version equal to 16. Now let's click on review again and see there's no devices with that as well over here. Let's say not equal to 16. Then I just wanted to show there are different possibilities with different operators, and we have only one device in our test tenant iOS device. That is why I need to do this. So now what you can see is a device is appearing over here. The device name is iPhone. That is why it was not meeting the criteria which I set up. The device name should start with HTMD. So HTMD name was not there. That is why it was not meeting that criteria. The device name is iPhone, and the user principal name is there. Manufacturer name is there. That is Apple, and model is iPhone 8. That is the model number of the iPhone. And you can see the device category also over here, and OS version. OS version is tricky. You see, it is 16, but it is exactly exactly 16.0.2. So we have not mentioned this particular thing. That is why it was not showing previously. We learned something by clicking on review button. So that is why I said I recommend always to use review button. Go back over here and change contain 16 dot or something. Let's check that and then go to preview again. See, you can see that criteria is matching now. The OS version criteria is meeting because it has 16 dot or something like that. Jailbroken? No, it is not. It is false. Ownership? It is a personally enrolled device. It is not Apple Business Manager or School Manager enrolled type of device. So all these details are available when you check the preview. So based on these properties, you would be able to expand your filter rules and you can learn lot of things looking at this preview blade. So that is why I said like, okay, this is very important. You need to look into it. Now let's go with this and click on next, and then create the scope tag, etc. You know what is scope tag. It is to filter out admins, etc. So I'm not going to go through that. Now we have created iOS. Now let's create Android also before going to the next step which I showed in the diagram, right? That is assigning an application using this filter rules. Okay, now let's see Android device. I'm going to go quick on this because we have explained this, and I'm going to select device administrator in this scenario. You can select any other Android option also. It depends on your criteria. For this demo, I'm going to go with device administrator, Android device administrator. And then in the rules page, you can see the similar properties. There's nothing changed. Let's start with OS version over here also. And let's start with not equal to, let's play with it. Not equal to 1. So I just wanted to show what are the properties available in this using the preview. So let's click on that and see whether there is anything over there. No, there's nothing over here, right? Not equal to 1. Okay, it is not there. Again, I'm going to create a new one and then let's select Android Enterprise. So enterprise, you can see additional option, enrollment profile option over there, and manufacturer, maybe I'm going to say not Apple. Okay, obviously, but I just wanted to show whether there's any Android device. I can show it over here. Okay, that's good. At least we got some Android device which the name starts with HTMD test, and it is a Samsung device manufacturer, and we mentioned that it is not equal to Apple. That is why it is showing. It is manufacturer is not Apple. It is Samsung. That is why it is showing over here under preview. And model number is there. Now you can filter on model number. You know what is model number, what it shows, from where you can get this details, etc. Device category is there. OS version is there. Similar to iOS over here. Enrollment profile details are here. So that is the Android filter rule which I am going to create for just for this demo. So I have created Android and iOS filter rules. Now going to next step. Let's go to the applications and check out some of the applications probably specifically for iOS. If you don't have any particular application, you can add some applications. Now before going into iOS based application, let's check Windows based application, 7-zip and options to filter out some of the things. So you can see different filters over here. You can see all the Windows based filters, but for iOS application and Android application, you need to make sure that this is MAM enabled application. So that is important. Let's try this. Zoom for Intune and then go over here, add all devices and then filter mode. I have selected the correct MAM enabled application for iOS and the filter started showing. You can see the filter which we created. That is what shows over here. You need to select the filter mode first. I told you there are two filter modes, include and exclude. I'm going to select include and then select this particular filter and then select OK, and you can select VPN, etc. I'm not going to cover that. Filter mode is selected. What is going to happen now is, even though we selected the Azure AD group, this is also Azure AD group. All devices group is part of Azure AD. Everything is coming from Azure AD. This is the first layer I talked about in the presentation, and filter is the second layer, right, where we are filtering only the iOS devices which which contains OS version 16. This particular application will go out only to these devices which are iOS version 16. Obviously 16 plus. That is a filter option for MAM devices which Microsoft introduced recently. Okay, and then once you create and save, you can see this is already deployed this to particular device. Then if you go back to devices over here and then filter on iOS device and then go to the properties of this particular device, if you go to hardware, you would be able to see all the OS version details. There's something called filter evaluation. This is very important. This is where you are going to see all the filter evaluation stuff, magic which happens at filter engine. For this particular device, the application which we deployed is not there yet. That is why there's no results. Let's go back to devices and take one Windows device and take an example of this particular device. Go to filter evaluation over here. If you check the filter evaluation, you can see there are 3 filter evaluation happened. For example, Edge, Chromium, user-based security deployment, Microsoft remote desktop-based deployment, and Google Chrome deployment. On all these deployments or application assignments or policy assignments, we have used assignment filters. That is why it is showing over here. So if you click on filter evaluation over here, you can see the filter result and evaluation results. So this is the filter result. As you might remember the diagram which I showed in the presentation. Over there was something called filter result and then overall result. So this is the overall result. The end result is basically policy is not offered to this particular device because the filter mode was include and evaluation result didn't match. Okay, that is why the policy is not offered. Why it is not matched? Because the device name should start with Namaste. That was the rule. And the device name, as you know, it starts with CPC. Okay, that is why it was not matching and the policy is not offered because of that. That is pretty straightforward, I hope. Let's close this from here and let's check one more over here. This is also important sometimes, right? We were not able to retrieve any filter evaluation details for this particular filter. There could be some issues. We need to troubleshoot what is happening, why it is not there, etc, etc. So this is another scenario. And the third scenario over here, probably, see, this is a bit different scenario. Filter mode is exclude app deployment if it is Windows 365 or cloud PC. Chrome should not be deployed to cloud PCs. Okay, I want to exclude. Filter evaluation matches and the end result is app is not offered. What is the syntax over here? It is checking whether the model is cloud PC, and if it is cloud PC, yes, of course CPC is cloud PC, and that is why the app is not offered to this particular device. So that is all about Intune filter, iOS, Android filter specifically. And the specific thing you have to understand is that you need to select the appropriate applications, MAM enabled applications. Otherwise, you won't be able to see the filter rules that you have created for iOS or Android devices. And quickly, a bonus tip: if you are a PowerShell guy, if you are interested in Microsoft Graph, over here you would be able to see assignment filters. Right, there's an option to check the assignment filters over here from the Microsoft Graph. So over here, if you look at the below results, you can see some description over here and platform details are there and then rules are there. All these details you can get from Microsoft Graph also. Now that you have seen the recording, hopefully you got the idea about Intune assignment filters specifically for MAM applications and Android and iOS devices, how to create filters, how to implement filter rules, etc, etc. Thank you all for watching. See you around.